is in the home country, and the multinational corporations, they grow and operate in other countries, and the company goes global as they need to make sure that investment also will grow substantially. And the effective survival strategies of this multinational corporations is spending huge amount of money on marketing and advertising. So there are certain models of multinational corporations. First one is centralized model. So in the centralized models, companies are uh, put up an executive headquarters in their home country, and they build various manufacturing plants and production facilities in other countries. Then regional models where company keeps its headquarters in one country and supervises the collection of offices in the other countries. Then in other multinational model is a parent company operates in home country and puts up its subsidiaries in different neighborhood countries. So MNCs are basically for economic development and also as a CSR, which is corporate social responsibilities. They are expected to play a key role in transfer of technology from developed countries to the developing countries. So basically, like to increasing their networking, marketing network, and also providing skills and technology and investment and manufacture goods from the host countries to the developing countries. Example can be seen in the domestic resources of India, which are in under uh, are not sufficient. So it is necessary for India to invite foreign companies to invest in India, which can also ensure the rapid economic growth, especially after liberalization, uh, privatization, and globalization in 1995. So, and going up as LPG, it helped reduce the operational barriers of MNCs in Indian political economy. So the foreign investment, industrial policy, and the monetary policy, they also play a crucial role in this. So the changes are made to contribute for the development of the host country. So MNCs also adopted a concept of like giving positive contributions under CSR, which is self-regulatory for businesses to ensure that the spirit of law, ethics, and the international norms are to be maintained under CSR by the MNCs to preserve the environment and also do the charitable contributions to the countries that they have been. So the CSR also can lead to a shift in corporate behavior towards good global citizenship in the areas of human rights protection. Now coming up globalization. So we all have been understanding what is globalization, but globalization is an uh, out of offshoot of structural adjustment program. So the SAPs. So these SAPs are implemented by World Bank and International Monetary Fund. So in order to keep up with the neoliberal policies and the restructuring policies, the globalization have to be made in 1980s all across the world. Of course, in 1991, we have opened up our borders and removed the monopoly of the licensing system, licensing grant. So the programs are specifically ensured to aid the monetary, to give monetary aid to the markets and privatize the public industry, allow free trade. And also it has cut social services like healthcare, education, which made the multinational corporations to come in and under FDI, they were able to establish in the neighborhood countries, which also resulted in significant expansion of global interconnectedness. So the globalization specifically gained popularity after 1990s, after the disintegration of Soviet Union or the end of Cold War. So this kind of uh, to some it ensured that it is a new concept that has come into the picture, but to some it is not a new concept because the globalization was already been existing, but it became a new phenomenon after the disintegration of USSR. So the globalization also added give value added advantages to environmental globalization, military globalization, economic, cultural, and political globalization. So the certain basic definitions of globalization could be understood with UNDP, which is United Nations Development Program, which was held in 1999. So it defined globalization as an increase or growing interdependence of people around the world and integrating not just the economy but also in terms of culture, technology, governance, and politics. And the globalization and state by the United Nations have acknowledged the report by World Public Sector Report. So it has said that the increasing and intensified flows or relationships between the countries, goods, services, capital, ideas, and people, which kind of created national cross-border integration of economy, social, and cultural activities also. So, International Monetary Fund also says that the growing economic independence of the countries worldwide through increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions in goods and services are to be understood in the diffusion of technology. So in 2000, the International Monetary Fund defined four aspects of globalization, which could be measured in terms of trade, transactions, capital and investment, migration and movement, and dissemination of knowledge. So basic underlying causes of globalization and their value emphasis on the role can be understood in international institutions such as WTO or economic cooperation and development of the economy and MNCs and changes in transportation and communication technologies that made it less costly to manage economic activities. And also United States played a central role in explaining the recent trends towards the globalization. So certain advantages of connecting the world economies are increasing interdependence in terms of globalization could ensure the free flow of capital from one country to another. Also, the flow of technology from advanced countries to the developing countries, and also increases process of industrialization and ensures that employment opportunities have been had to be improved. So disadvantages of globalization could be seen in terms of how the domestic markets are killed in the process of globalization, where the domestic market businesses may not be able to compete with these MNCs which are coming from outside and the technology outbursts that they bring to the other member countries. So the MNCs also produce the products in their home countries and other foreign countries, and they try to market them in the developing countries as the uh, local markets or the domestic businesses are reduced. This in turn also lead to reduction in employment opportunities, especially if we are talking about less developed economies. So the globalization also widens gap between the rich and poor because it also widens gap between competence, skills, and efficiencies, and also an abrupt or abnormal differences in income. And the average could, over period, could create an imbalance. And also, they exploit natural resources of the developing countries and sell their products in other countries. So, the globalization also results in another concept of commercial colonialism by the powers like USA and European Union, where this new concept of commercial colonialism, through this new concept of commercial colonialism, they also do this political colonialism, where the national sovereignty of these countries or developing or the least developed countries are the states. And globalization also results in economic shift from independent countries to super structured international organizations like World Trade Organization, European Union, where the control or the sovereignty of the country would be at stake. Now, if we talk about the political dimension of the globalization, is how the countries are dependent on international organizations for bilateral and multilateral contracts. So, in this, the countries over a period they lose their functions of control over government departments and their domain on private and voluntary organizations uh, might increase their dependence might increase on their alternate delivery system, and also the political control can be seen as a sharper tool or a distinction between politics and administration with increasing globalization. And the sovereignty and rule of political systems also decrease because non-state actors like MNCs and international organizations, multi-intergovernmental organizations, to take the place of the governmental organizations, and the sovereignty of the state might also at the risk. Example can be seen where MNCs they also impact politically by funding as or they might leverage their bargaining power by offering some electoral inducements or funding the parties where the policies could favor them. This can be seen as an notion where suppose political parties for their funding, electoral funding, they could get this funding from this multinational corporations, and this multinational corporations will act as a pressure or lobbying group, and after their desired parties coming into the power, they will or they might influence the policies which would favor them. So this can also be one of the backlash for losing of the political sovereignty of the country. So in 1974, around 1974, Joseph Nye has said that these corporations, multinational corporations, they hire lobbyists to influence the decision making of the government policies. And they also have the direct lobbying where the representatives of the companies, they meet the members of the government and also inform about the industry, their industries, and convince the officials to make decisions which might favor them. And the corporations also hire lobbyists to influence the decision of the government. So the consequences of this MNC-led globalization, where we can see that the developing host countries, by increasing the investment, income, and employment in its economy, and also they contribute for the development of the country through transfer of technology or finances or modern management. So the strong states are needed in order to potentially increase the use of MNCs for the betterment of their power or capital infrastructure building. Example, in 2018, Facebook has obtained a higher income than the Serbia's GDP, which is 40 billion, and Google earned around $110 billion US dollars. So giving it more capital than half of the countries of the world. So the multinational companies are also obtaining more power through their use of lobbying. And also similarly, if you look at in 2017, Google spent more than 18 million US dollars by lobbying the politicians, lawmakers, and White House members for becoming number one lawyer in the world. And also it paid around 11.5 million US dollars. And this is the kind of notion that these MNCs have been doing. So this multinational corporations and international corporations, transnational corporations, or stateless corporations or global corporations. Now let us understand about another topic, which is Regional Organization 1. So in Regional Organization 1, we'll be understanding about SARC and ASEAN. SARC is SAARC and ASEAN is ASEAN. So SARC and ASEAN will be understanding how these two regional organizations have become a hallmark, especially after the post Second World War world or the post decolonization world, where the world has been coping up with limitations that have been given by neo-colonial countries. and also the complex power politics of the world. So the regional corporations are seen as more fruitful and technical in dealing with regional problems and politics, which can compel the smaller countries to form regional organizations, or basically we can also call as the bargaining power under the developing regions of the third world. Now, talking about the SARC is a very important institution. Of course, more or less until 2008, or until the disputes that have the attacks that have been made with India by Pakistan. So until then, it was well and good the working organization because it constitutes important regions of Asia, which is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. So around they possess one-fifth of the world population, and they also share common history, culture, and civilization. So there are also similarities not only in the culture and history, but also the race, religion, the customs, economic and social factors. So, an important fact is these nations also became independent under the British rule in the middle of 20th century, and also faced several problems related to economic, social, and political field. So, SARC full form is SAARC, which is South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. So this can be seen as a major experiment, which was successful initially but failed to have achieved its objective, specifically with the neighborhood detention. The SARC was formally adopted in 1985 by all the head of the states of the government of Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Now, these all were member countries in 1985, and in 2007, Afghanistan also became its eighth member. And SARC also has observer countries which has Australia, China, European Union, Iran, Japan, Mauritius, Myanmar, South Korea, and United States. So the South Asian neighbors, they kind of came under uh, initiative under Bangladesh President Ziaur Rahman in 1980s, and he also paid visits to Nepal, Pakistan, and China, sorry, India, Sri Lanka, to kind of concretize this idea of cooperation among South Asian member countries. And the meeting where the foreign ministers adopted the declaration of SARC, and they also launched an integrated program of action in nine agreed areas of agriculture, communication, education, culture, sports, environment, which are of the population, health, and rural development. The SARC objectives of SARC is to promote the welfare of the South Asian people, to accelerate growth, social progress, and cultural development, to strengthen the collective self-reliance among South Asian countries, to contribute for the mutual trust, understanding each other's problems, and to promote collaboration in or giving mutual assistance in terms of in fields of economy, social, cultural, technical, and scientific, and also to strengthen the cooperation among other developing countries to cooperate with international and regional organizations, which also have similar aims and strengths as such of SARC. So certain principles of SARC is the cooperation within the framework of association should be done based on mutual respect towards uh, respecting each other's sovereignty, integrity, territorial integrity, political independence, and non-interference in their internal affairs. And next one is to complement. This cooperation should be considered as a complement rather than a substitution or replacement to the existing multilateral cooperation. And also this should consist with in line with the obligations of bilateral and multilateral agreements of member states, and decisions at all levels of SARC are taken on the basis of unanimity, and bilateral and contention issues are excluded from the deliberations of the association. Suppose what is the last point? Bilateral and contentious issues are excluded from the deliberations of association. Means let's suppose we have a contention like India and Pakistan uh, disputes or the attacks. So these cannot be discussed in SARC conferences. So they should strictly be put at stay, and only the multilateral issues like trade, economy, prospects has to be discussed. Then the organizational structure of SARC can be seen as the main highest authority of the association is with the states who who meet annually once in a year and conduct a summit level meeting, and also they meet head of the states will meet once in a year to have this summit, and uh, approximately around 18 months, uh, and till date until 2014, the 8 meetings have been held by head of the state, and the last meeting, which was supposed to be happening in Islamabad, Pakistan in 2016, was cancelled off. So, and from its establishment in 1995 to 2014, 8 meetings have been held. So, in and last 19th summit, 18 meetings have been held, and 19th summit of SARC in Islamabad in 2016 was called off, and in due to Uri attack, and the not just India that did not attend, but also Afghanistan, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives declared not to attend this SARC summit, and Pakistan postponed the SARC summit and addressed the new dates would be released, but it never happened afterwards. And Council of Ministers. So Council of Ministers it comprises of foreign ministers of the member states, and it is responsible for formulating policies, reviewing progress, and having new areas of or developing new areas of cooperation. And it has held around 22 sessions till January 2002, and the first decade of SARC was also held at New Delhi in 1995, and this was held during 16th session of the Council of Ministers. And now standing committees comprises of foreign secretaries of member states, and they have to take overall monitoring and coordination programs. And committee has held 27 regular sessions and two special sessions till 2002. And also it determines how intersectoral priorities like mobilizing regional and external resources, identifying new areas of cooperation are to be understood. Now, next one is called technical committees. These technical committees formulate programs and prepare projects for respective fields, and to make up for the integrated program action under SARC. Then SARC Secretariat is established in Kathmandu in 1987. So its main role is to coordinate and monitor and implement the activities of SARC and the meetings of the association. It kind of forms as a channel of communication between SARC and other international organizations. So the Secretary General is appointed by Council of Ministers upon nomination by each member state on the principle of rotation for every 2 years. So the ninth SARC summit, which held in Mali in 1997. So this has decided that the tenure of Secretary General should be of 3 years. So and directors are appointed by Secretary General upon nomination by member state of 3 years. Then SARC finances, like how does this institution or this organization run? So it kind of uh, opens up for the member countries, to provide in their national budget for financing activities under SARC. in order to bring up a framework and include contributions to enhance the cooperation between the member countries. And also, the SARC is, as we have understood that after 2006 Nuri attack, it has never been considered. So, in achieving its future prospects, it has been slow, despite slow progress, but it kind of enhanced the regional cooperation among these countries as it provided for the member countries to lead for their development. And the SARC also have not been able to play an effective role as its supporters would expect it to play because of the historical bitterness, historical discrepancies, or the conflicts on the areas that it has been built. And South Asian regional cooperation um, is far from where the stage of ASEAN have reached, and it could not continue as how ASEAN, which we'll be talking about in next, has done to improvise, like they are also called tigers, Asian tigers. So this still the hostility which exists between India and Pakistan have halted or changed the political climate atmosphere for the surviving and the progress of the SARC. So SARC kind of tried to promote the welfare of the people of South Asia in order to achieve economic growth, social progress, cultural development, but also to contribute to the mutual trust, understanding, and appreciation of each other's problems. Now, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So, ASEAN is a regional organization. It is formed by Indonesian governments, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, through which is called as Bangkok Declaration. So, this Bangkok Declaration was signed by all the foreign ministers of the ASEAN member countries on 1967, on August 8, 1967. So now what happened? Initially, the membership was small, but it expanded to 10 members by Sultanate of Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar and Cambodia also joining eventually until 1999. So ASEAN have around 500 plus million of population, and the total area is around 480 million square kilometers. So this also makes them the the extra regional power in the region. So now certain factors which led for the evolution of ASEAN could be seen in terms of how the Cold War and the political instability and the communist forces and the expansionist drive of Vietnam with support of Soviet has led for the people for the evolution of ASEAN, and it also enjoys the security relationship with US, and security aspect therefore helped a driving force in ASEAN movement, and also it has a anti-communist flavor, and it is pro it was initially the pro-Western countries, specifically with the Vietnam War that has went on for years in the Vietnam, where the two powerful countries have fought there. And also the birth of ASEAN was to concentrate on nation building and as a common fear of communism and reduced faith in external powers in 1960s. And also for the main focus of them was for economic development. And the Indonesia's ambition to become a regional hegemony and also Malaysia and Singapore uh, kind of hop on this part of ASEAN, which led to a mere cooperative framework and the attributed reasons for the formation of ASEAN. So the objectives of ASEAN can be seen uh, in terms of to accelerate economic growth and to promote regional stability and peace and to promote active collaboration and mutual assistance on matters of common interest in social, cultural, and technical and scientific fields, and also to provide assistance to each other in form of training and research activities, and to promote Southeast Asian uh, studies and to collaborate on greater utilization of agriculture industries and to be a beneficial cooperation with existing international and regional communities. So basic fundamental principles of ASEAN could be seen in terms where it signed the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia in 1976, which is called TAC. So the TAC main objectives are to mutual respect for independence, sovereignty, and the right of every state to live its national existence, non-interference, then settlement of differences in peaceful manner, renunciation of threat or use of force, and effective cooperation among themselves. So now the organizational functioning is ASEAN Permanent Secretariat is in Jakarta. So it was set up in 1976 and it is the highest decision making organ of ASEAN. And in the ASEAN, the heads of the states or the governments meet every year and look for the issues that need to be understood. And also the ministerial conference, which is composed of foreign ministers of the member states, are also uh, held uh, annually in each country by rotation. And standing committee meets whenever necessary between ministerial meetings for the consultation. So initially, for the first few years, the ASEAN made little progress towards building up this regional cooperation. But after 1975, it underwent a transformation where it enlarged both in administrative machinery and also the economic cooperation and took extreme steps on economic development and it has strengthened its framework and created a moment in order to be a successful regional organization by promoting regionalism. Now, if we understand like India's role or India's relationship with ASEAN is because USSR uh, during when ASEAN was formed, India could not develop friendly approach towards ASEAN because we were friends with USSR and ASEAN was established specifically on the notion of anti-communist notions. So in terms of this, India's geopolitical position also led for the closer cooperation with Southeast Asian nations over a period. So India also showed interest in having relationships or joining this organization like Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines, where the India could not move forward because of their inclination towards anti-socialist Russia, and also in 1992, after the disintegration, India was able to become a sectoral dialogue partner of ASEAN, and the sectoral dialogue partner initiated a process of cooperative linkages with important regional grouping. And in 1994, the science and technology were added to the ASEAN, and the fifth summit of ASEAN, which was held in 1999, where India stood as a status of full dialogue partnership. And in 1996, India was made a member of ASEAN Regional Forum, which is called ARF. So the ARF also discusses about major regional security issues and how the non-proliferation and the counter-terrorism and transnational crime has to be addressed. So now what happened 1994, uh, in 1996, India was made an ASEAN Regional Forum, member of ASEAN Regional Forum, and in 1999, it has got the status of full dialogue partnership. In 2002, India became a summit partner, which is called ASEAN Plus One. So this is a high-level meeting summit where India high-level visits from ASEAN and the visits from Indian ministers to that region, which helped improve bilateral relationships between the member countries. So now significance of ASEAN in international affairs can be seen with the representation of Asian solution to the Asian problems by increasing the cooperation among the member countries. So towards 1997, ASEAN were faced with serial finances, serious financial crisis, and at Kuala Lumpur session in 1997, the crisis had to be addressed. So in this, the ASEAN leaders called for uh, regional, national, and international efforts in overcoming this financial turmoil, where the IMF has given the expedite measures for the stabilization of currency. So now in 1998, the finance ministers of ASEAN met at Singapore and made a bid to arrive at an agreement regarding this implementation of regional currency for intra-regional trade. But however, that was not successful. So in 1999, the finance ministers of ASEAN held a meeting at Singapore and agreed to develop an action plan for creating ASEAN e-space. So ASEAN e-space would cover physical, legal, logistics, and economic infrastructure aspects of ASEAN, and they were agreed to create three ASEAN investment promotion missions uh, in order to interact with Japan, USA, and Europe to ensure that the foreign capital flows to the countries are to be done. So now in 1999 November, the leaders of ASEAN again met at Manila. So and also decided to target for the total elimination of tariffs from around 2015, from 2010 to 2015. And they also held meetings with representatives of China, Japan, and South Korea to increase the understanding and build trust on certain sensitive issues of these member countries. So in 2000, the fourth informal summit of ASEAN plus three, where China, Japan, and South Korea was held in Singapore, and it announced the launch of ASEAN Integration (IAI), uh, which was created to provide a framework for regional cooperation through more developed ASEAN members. They could help those member countries that most need it. So I main uh, areas of main key areas such as focuses on main key areas such as education, skill development, and worker training. So, but in 2000, the ASEAN heads of the government assigned e-ASEAN framework with an objective of promoting cooperation and strengthen the competitiveness in ASEAN sector. So now the ASEAN in this overall scenario, 1969 to 2000, has projected an image of political solidarity in spite of having internal differences and in approaches. This can be seen in terms of China's intervention in Confucian affairs. So this ASEAN member states have been able to impress on outside world that an interference with one ASEAN government would be a matter of concern for all the 10 members. So, and also the principal solution that ASEAN has brought up to many political economic challenges that its member countries face, and also the political order of this country is also depend upon the national resilience and internal resources that they are able to bring up. So this is SARC and ASEAN, and in next class, which is tomorrow, we will be reading about other regional organizations too, which is EU and European Union and BRICS. So I hope you understood today's class. Please go through yesterday's class also. So this is Navyashri. We'll meet tomorrow again.